The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. The Ticats coming off a big win in Ottawa last week after a very short week. Now getting ready on Saturday the 16th, 4 p.m. kickoff at Tim Hortons Field against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Fans, as always, send your questions for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca. We have one later on in this episode to ask Coach, and we pick one every week to ask Coach and get a little insight from whatever you're thinking. There's quite a variety of content with the fan questions, and that's fine. That's fun. So send those in to gameday@ticats.ca. Coach, the last 3 weeks, a big win out west in BC, heartbreaking loss, Labor Day Classic, another just big dramatic win in Ottawa. How does the team sort of morale look after sort of a roller coaster of the last 3 weeks?
Well, we'll find out. It's some well-deserved rest has been given. We'll start day one here today. Lots of emotions, lots of physical toll that was doled out on the bodies, and just super proud of them. So yeah, I would suspect the morale is going to be high, and I want everybody to enjoy it. It was an organizational win, top to bottom, and couldn't be more proud of just the perseverance, the overcoming of adversity. So I would expect the morale to be high, but we'll see when we go back to work today.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable win in Ottawa. Very, very fun to call the game. 2 different halves. It was 6-3 at halftime, and then it was a shootout in the second half, of all things. And it had a little bit of a feeling of a playoff game. I mean, there were plays that stand out to me that were playoff effort, playoff, physical sack. I mean, Richard Leonard flying in like a cannonball and effectively just sacrificing himself to try to prevent a touchdown on the goal line. Was that part of the message going into that game? Were you, in a sense, treating that game against an East opponent who you're fighting for a spot against? Was it like a playoff game for you guys?
It felt like that, Luke. It really did. And there wasn't enough. There were certain things we just weren't going to be able to control. There's no way we were going to be fresher than Ottawa. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any way that we could be as prepared as Ottawa, except in our minds. And, like I said, our hearts couldn't be fatigued. Those are things that we can show. Those are choices that we can make. There wasn't a body out there playing that wasn't sore, that was fully recovered. So what we did control is our mindset and our want to, and how we responded to adversity. And obviously the game boils down to execution. You can't just have a great mindset. You got to go out there and perform. And, it was kind of the tale of two halves, depending on how you look at it. A great defensive battle in the beginning and a great offensive battle there. And I thought the special teams played a crucial role. Thought we missed that opportunity right before the half on the missed field goal. That would have been huge to find a way to get in. But hey, that was just part of the journey that night. So just like I said, from the top down, we brought extra, massage therapist on the road. The guys were able to try to get out and get to hot tubs and saunas and spend time. And it was just that fine line between preparation and rest. And then when the ball was kicked off, it's about performing and executing your job. So, yes, it was a playoff feel. It wasn't approached necessarily like a playoff game, but sometimes, Luke, you can feel it. Nothing needs to be said. And I think the players approached it like that. There wasn't a stand up in front and harp on just how meaningful, like they knew that this can catapult us, maybe be a springboard of sorts, or we can make it extremely difficult on ourselves.
Yeah, you could feel it broadcasting. I mean, it just really, there was something to it in the effort. maybe what sort of solidified that or even kind of started that feeling was the turnover on downs. Katsantonis comes up, that play happened in just that timing in the space where a free safety can come up and kind of put his hands on the guy and almost kind of, in a sense, almost let the touchdown in. Or it wouldn't even have been as bad as that. It would have just been, well, the guy made an effort to get in the end zone. Stavros Katsantonis made that tackle like his family's life depended on him not scoring a touchdown.
Yes.
And then you got your defense 3 short yardage stops in a row. So you're going to coach on the film today. You know, what would the average watcher not know about those short yardage stops? How hard it is, or what it takes to do something like that?
All the things that aren't the tangible things. So one hand is in the green, which means isn't behind, and they get a fresh new 3 downs to do it again. So it starts with discipline. It starts with lining up correctly. And it's not just the physical stop. We've seen many physical stops, offside defense. We'll put it at the 1, first down, offense. And it happens time and time again, and usually at least every other week or once a week. And so just the discipline to start. And then, you know, understanding just there's the thankless job of getting lower. There's people that are having, 900 pounds laying on them. Mm-hmm. Panay Pavihi makes a huge play. Thurman makes a huge play. You got DBs running around pulling on the waist, not the legs, which is a penalty. Mm. There's a lot of little things that go into more than, wow, what a great play by person X. And so I would say that those are the little things that go unnoticed, that never show up in the box score, that contribute to, that was game changing. That's and then to watch the offense move it out from there on a 2nd and 10, virtually 2nd and 9, where you're not having to give up to or contemplate or punt the ball to Dandridge, which every time you put it in his hands, you're holding your breath also, right? Everybody has a returner in this league right now that you punt it back there, you better cover it. Those are great signs from a football team right there. That stand there, they don't happen all the time. And the timing of it was impeccable.
Oh, unbelievable. It was right at the end of the first quarter, literally the last plays there. Strangely or interestingly or eerily, it was the exact same spot of turf where Bo Levi Mitchell was injured a few weeks back. It was just very strange, like 2 season-changing moments on the exact same part of green and hash mark of Ottawa's field. Field flips, and you're right. The offense puts together something, I think it was like a 45-yard drive, and is able to flip the field after a punt, which is very, very difficult to do. When you're backed up, when the goalpost is in your huddle, and when the quarterback when he's in the shotgun and like the goalpost is in his view, like right over his head, it's really a hard thing to do. And we used to say, you just get 1 first down. You're not going for points. You're not trying to even flip the field. You got to get 1 first down and then take a breath, and then you can realign your goals there. And they did that after just a season-defining stop there by Mark Washington's defense. And the way you describe that, it's a little bit like alignment, assignment, technique, and execution. He started with no hand in the green. Every single defensive player's hand is correctly not in the neutral zone and not lined up to get a penalty. Just impressive. It was just amazing. And again, I go back to Stavros Katsantonis' tackle there and the way that play sort of was set up. But yeah, you just got to be proud of your defense for that first half and how they continued to play.
Yeah, no, it can't be overstated, really. And if you really look back to the BC game, we had that 3rd down stop defensively that kind of set the tone for the game there that people might remember. And so, those things are, they can be tone setters. They don't make or break the game, but when you look back at momentum swings and those type of things, there's a saying that says field position plus momentum equals points. And, we were able to gather, obviously some momentum there, and then we regained the field position.
Yeah.
And, and the points were a result later on.
Offensively, Taylor Powell, I finished the broadcast kind of saying, like, now I'm very excited to see more Taylor Powell after that game. We've seen fairly decent, I would say, ball security from Powell, even in his early starts there. And now in Ottawa, you see touchdowns come, and you see a wide receiver core who sort of blossoms and has some really spectacular catches along with Taylor Powell's development. Where have you noticed the most growth from him as he's now a couple games in?
Just the confidence. He's always confident, but it's, there's different levels of it, right? Just like there's different levels of commitment. Everybody can say they're committed, but there's different levels. Some people are early. Some people do what's asked. Some people do extra. So there's different levels of commitment. There's different levels of confidence. And I think the confidence comes from learning your receivers, trusting your O-line. It's not just confidence in that he can do the job. He's had that. Fortunately, I think he was born with that. Mm-hmm. Sure, we can add to it, but I think there's just a confidence in understanding the 12th player, how his football team works, understanding when it puts the defense in a bind, when it puts special teams in a bind, not consciously thinking about it, just understanding it, watching more CFL games, learning from other people, learning Scott. There's just a different level of confidence that he's showing that he didn't already just exude. That was just he showed up with.
That's cool. You come out of that game not only positive in the turnover ratio, but 1 sack allowed against Ottawa. Is he part of that number decreasing as well?
Yeah, and we had spoken to that earlier that, not all sacks are the same. But yeah, I mean, you've been in that room when we do the critical stats, Luke. Mm-hmm. And, I apologize for viewers who won't understand, but there's things that we think have withstood the test of time that we view as critical stats, some of them being second down conversions, sacks, turnovers, explosions, that sort of thing. And I don't know, maybe in 19, every category was green. And you could kind of hear it was a different feeling in the room. Mm-hmm. that hadn't been there. No, and it was, really a credit to everybody. And, of course, we had no penalties on special teams, 0 for the second time this year, not in the return game and none in obviously in the coverage game. Yeah. And then obviously the 4 takeaways on defense, that usually bodes well when you're talking about consistency and winning football games.
Yeah. Really impressive. And Taylor Powell was the player of the game for the Ticats Audio Network, and Bubba and Andy and RJ and I had him after the game before your interview. maybe this is breaking the third wall of media or something like that. But you when you interview guys, you kind of you get a sense for them. Some people interview just so non-authentically that it's it's just like so you can't really get a sense for who they are. And some guys you get a real sort of like kind of like puffing their chest up kind of interviews. And Taylor Powell's interview after the game, like you just mentioned, he struck me as authentically confident, like not like he really felt his own growth as a quarterback to me. And you can just tell he's not a natural rah-rah guy or very loud. He just seemed very genuinely, encouraged by the team, and he was confident, and it was kind of an interesting interview, and I just liked the way that he sort of came off. It just seemed like a guy who was seemed very starting quarterback-ish to me, I guess, his interview after the game. That leads sort of into the quarterback situation that you have here. Matt Schultz was a third string, the third guy on the roster for Ottawa, suited up. What's going to happen going forward if all of a sudden you have the reverse problem that you've been faced with all year and you have a lot of good quarterbacks?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question, and I'll welcome that. That situation, and we'll take that each week as it shows up. In the meantime, it's full throttle ahead towards Winnipeg, and finding a way to have another point over what they score, and that's really what the focus is. And who leads us is who leads us. Like I said, it'll be ongoing. And, when everybody's healthy at some point that, obviously we'll have tough decisions to make, but that's a positive thing. That's not something we're not wanting or, that's a welcoming thing. And, I liken it to the situation when I was coaching the DBs in Toronto when we had Caleros there and Ricky Ray and, Trevor Harris and, I looked at the Calgary situation, and for those that would remember, I think Dave Dickinson was a holder. Jeff Garcia was the starting quarterback, and Henry Burris was the third stringer. Like, bring on those situations any day.
Yeah, it's like having too much money, I guess. Just
how do you do that?
Coach, let's do a fan question. This one is from Dom, a longtime Ticat fan. He says, hi, Coach. I recently heard an interview that mentioned the differences between having an offensive head coach and a defensive head coach. I thought this was very interesting and had never thought about this myself. Does your defensive background shape your team or change it in some way? And do you think an offensive head coach shapes their team differently? Thank you.
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a good one, Dom.
And it is a good one, Dom. Thank you. I think it shapes your personality for sure, and your mentality. I think you want your football team to resemble who you are. That's because it's just a natural thing that I think occurs. I think the trends have changed a little bit. There was, it's always been, always is a strong term, but oftentimes I'd say previous 10 years, it was a heavy offensive coordinator, promotion type of thing. And I get it. I understand it, even if you look at the other leagues, it's kind of similar. And I think the trend's changing a little bit, where you're seeing special teams coordinators, get opportunities, at least as interviews and those type of things, which is only natural to me because you're in front of the football team. Yeah. It is one coordinator. And then, defensively, sometimes you've just been around and great coordinators don't always make great head coaches, right? You have to be a leader of people, and it's just not everybody suited for it. And I've learned that I've learned that just as a player. It's not that anybody's bad. It's just some people are better suited to be position coaches and not coordinators. Everybody has a role to play. So I think, Dom, that I think it naturally takes on your personality. And if not, then that's okay also. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but it is an interesting and intriguing question because let's say that, you've got a coordinator that's very smart and, efficient and very organized, but he wants a hard physical team. Well, he can still have that as long as you hire a staff around you that's hard-nosed, no nonsense, etc. And then you hire your therapist to do the same thing. And so you can build your team even though it's not your personality. So it's really a to each their own. I think the biggest thing is to have a clear vision, surround yourself with the people that you want to execute it, get the people off board that, maybe aren't helping you achieve that, and find more of the ones that are. So it's kind of a circle the wagon and a straddle the fence answer, but I don't think it's a cookie cutter one and then there are some that just embody the whole thing. I can think of like a Jerry Glanville. I could only imagine what, he's going to be the alpha and he's going to do everything. Mm-hmm. And there's that too. So I just think it's different with everybody, Dom. That's a great question.
Yeah, really cool. I think from a player's perspective, I generally the practice, like routine or like the how the practices function on the field is sort of comes from the head coach. But I think Coach, you kind of you've relinquished some of that to your coordinators too, right? Like their input as to how they want practice is somewhat part of that as well.
Yeah, I believe in a transformational environment. Ultimately, I'll make the final decision. But I mean, you probably sensed it a little bit, Luke. Like, we were doing yells and if you're walking, you're wrong. And that's kind of a defensive perspective. Like that's not something that offense, but I think it's infectious. It permeates. It's easy. It's authentic. And pretty soon everybody's moving, where that's not really an offensive thing. And that's not good or bad. It's just a general observation over 20 years that it's more about execution, timing, space, lining up, splits, technique versus, no, we're going to have a little bit of fun here too. Everybody's in on it. Give me a floor call. That's like this team took on that identity of, I'm not even going to call it defense. I would say your head coach when you were playing for or with me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. That in 2019, that was my first year with you, a defensive head coach, because it was Kent and then June.
Yeah.
And it is different. It is like a little bit more high paced. There was sort of a defensive flavor to our practices. And when June and June was there, it was like sort of decentralized. I think the practice schedule, like we had like 6 plays with June's offense that could be run like 20 different ways. So you'd think that'd be a short practice. Like, no, we ran like 100 offensive plays every practice. For, it's like kind of, different, but it was, sort of offense doing their thing and thinking through things, and defense, I don't know where they were. They were doing their thing for sure. But for you, then 2009, it was a team, like it was the team energy on the field, everyone together. It is interesting. It's a good question, and there is certainly some differences, offensive and defensive. So, yeah, good question. That's from Dom. Thank you very much. That's again, you send your questions to gameday@ticats.ca, and we'll pick one each week to ask Coach. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home reno, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at turkstralumber.com. Coach, on to the next one. After these great storylines as they progress, the BC was amazing, heartbreaker, then amazing in Ottawa. What a win, and throwing touchdowns, and now you got another one. Winnipeg at Tim Hortons Field. How do you keep all the energy and success? Sort of, how do you stay on that train coming home from Ottawa?
Preparation. Yeah, it's on to the next. It's figure out who's healthy, who we're going to go to battle with, what are going to be the decisions day 3, stuff that people don't realize, it's, and then once your roster's formulated for that week, you put forth your best foot and you go to work, and you be excited about it. You embrace this opportunity. They are a good football team, and you can tell that on tape in all 3 phases. This is going to be a great challenge, and I'm just looking forward to it. Like, this is why you play. You want to see where you're at. You play the best.
Absolutely. What an exciting day. That'll be Saturday the 16th at 4 p.m. kickoff, Tim Hortons Field. Ticats Audio Network coverage will start an hour before with Bubba and Andy, and RJ and myself will have the call at kickoff. Coach, very excited for it, man. Best of luck with the week of prep, and we'll see you Saturday.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.